The book has a subtitle, A Historical and Theological Introduction. And when one says a book is historical about the Bible, that means necessarily engaging in critical study, using criticism. Now, unfortunately, the word criticism is misunderstood by a lot of people. They think it means to criticize the Bible. But in fact, the word criticism, as I use it in my book, means making informed judgments. In other words, to make historical judgments about what something means and about how it happened and so forth. So anytime anybody engages in interpreting the New Testament, they are engaging in criticism, whether they realize it or not. They say making judgments about the meaning of something. So that's what I mean by criticism. So for me, the word criticism is a positive word. When I think of criticism negatively, I refer to what I would call radical criticism. Radical criticism for me is a bad word because it involves presuppositions that are totally alien, often totally alien, to what the Bible is about, the narrative of the Bible, and the story of the Bible. So the critical method, I think, is vitally important even to a believer, and can be held together with a faith approach. In fact, the faith approach can aid and help a critical approach. Why? Because a faith-based approach to the Bible has presuppositions that are in line with what the Bible is trying to say. That doesn't mean we have all the answers immediately, but what it does mean is that one can hear the Bible in a way with ears of faith that one can't do if one has presuppositions against the very possibility of God acting in history. So for me, faith and criticism can go together. And that goes together then with my view of the Bible as both the Word of God and the words of human beings. And in fact, the Word of God comes to us through the medium of human beings. And I think this is very essential to an appropriate and useful and helpful understanding of the New Testament. One of the things about historical information is that we can't really have certitude, absolute certainty about anything in history. We have to deal with what we'd have to say is probable knowledge. That shouldn't disturb us over much because probable knowledge is what we live most of our life on. The only time you have certain knowledge is in mathematics or in certain science realms of science. But when it comes to historical knowledge, as indeed with a lot of knowledge that we work on and use readily, probable knowledge is quite sufficient. It's important for New Testament scholars and New Testament students to realize that we only know a part of the past. Now, I think we know enough. We know enough to be persuaded about its truthfulness, about the truthfulness of the story of the Bible. But it falls short of certainty. One of a great New Testament scholar once said that every New Testament student should have a sign on his or her desk which says, "We do not know." And there's some truth in that. We need to be careful not to think we know more than we do know. On the other hand, we must be courageous and know that we can know a lot with probability. So that's very important. The important thing here is to arrive at a viewpoint which is plausible historically in terms of the way we judge historical knowledge. And when we work on that ground, I think the New Testament has a wonderful, positive, and strong claim to historicity. And we have reason to be confident in the narrative of the Bible. I remember saying that I quoted in my preface from Oliver Wendell Holmes, who said that he didn't care a fig about simplicity short of complexity, but that he'd give his right arm for simplicity on the other side of complexity. So for the believer, it's important to have a second naivete to understand the limitations of historical knowledge, but then to act on the reality of what can be known and to let that work together with one's faith in approaching biblical narrative. But one shouldn't be disturbed by the fact that much of our knowledge is probable. Where I think we do get on away from probable knowledge to a more solid ground, in a sense, is in terms of our existential knowledge of the gospel. So that when we believe, when we have faith, this brings a testimony of certainty to us which exceeds, I think, the probabilities of historical knowledge. The very well-known Roman Catholic scholar Raymond Brown, who wrote a fine introduction to the New Testament, has a statement there which I think is very true. He says that biblical studies are not helped by being certain about the uncertain. What he meant was we mustn't assume that we have more knowledge than we have, and to make decisions about questions that say more than we're really able to say with the available evidence. So one of the things about my book is that I don't, in fact, insist on answers where we can't be really that confident about the answers. I leave questions a little more open. I indicate the direction I would lean on a particular subject, but I don't try to suggest that we have the answers to a lot of questions which continue to be very debated.